welcome to Polish Video Games. Today I'm going to be playing a game called Machinarium, developed in 2009 by Amanita Design, based in the Czech Republic. There is no dialogue, it is all pictures. I know I'm a little late to this, but the game is so good that I keep revisiting it every so often. It is very unique artwork, and frankly some pretty good storytelling for what it does. So, for those of you just listening, I'm going to be doing my best to explain what I see. I'll just start a new game here. And we're off. We see the large city in the background, and we see some kind of flying vehicle making its way over to a large trash heap. It dumps its load, and here we meet our protagonist, who's actually named Joseph. It gives us some basic tutorial stuff. First, we have to reassemble ourselves. So we grab our head, can extend up to grab this little doll at the top, go back down, talk to this. I don't know if it's supposed to be a possum or a giant rat or something. But we ask about our limbs, and in return, he wants that doll. So we give it to them. And in return, it brings back one of our legs. Here it's just saying that there's a hint bubble, there's a walkthrough book if you get stuck. But we start walking, and we grab a magnet. And pretty much everything in our inventory he just swallows. So we swallow the magnet. We see a large piece of thread on a spool we slurp up like some spaghetti. And here it tells us we combine the items. And so now we walk over. There is a water gap, or could be oil, but there is a pipe that we can push on. And so now we can use the combined magnet and rope. To then fish out our arm. We swing over, get rid of the magnet, and we make our way back to the city. Fun fact, the character was named after Joseph Spapek. I probably am not saying that right because I don't speak Czech, but Joseph Spapek was credited as inventing the word robot. So we make our way to the city, but rudely kicked aside by a RoboCop. He asks the gate guard for entry, and the gate guard lowers the bridge for him. And he just walks over. So now we pull on the cord and ask for entry. And the gate guard is telling us no. So now we gotta figure out a way in. So we see some cones here piled on the ground. The top one has a hole in it, so we swallow that one. And you keep clicking on the cones. Beneath them you find a bucket of blue paint. So you walk over to this tub of white paint, put the blue paint in. And now the tub of paint is roughly the same color as the RoboCop's cover. So, put the cone in. Oh, not on top of your head, man. Dip the cone in the paint. Now it's the same color as the RoboCop's. But we still need the light, so we see a light pole here. Climb up. Grab the spokes from beneath us to keep putting in so we can ascend. And one more time. And we go up, and up, and up. Don't try this at home. Extend ourselves to grab the light bulb. And we can now combine the light bulb with the cone. Put it on. I'm not sure how it's blinking because it's not really connected to anything. But pull on the cord again. And our disguise is good enough for government work because now the gate guard agrees to lower the bridge. So we tentatively make our way across the bridge. But if you're watching this, you can see that there is a puddle of oil on the other side of the bridge. So I'm sure you can guess what's about to happen. We slip and fall. Here we fall into a, I'm not sure, some kind of rail system, some tracks, into a processing plant. There's a set of stairs here that leads to the lever, so we can pull on the lever, see what it does. Sends these crates of berries, or whatever the equivalent is in this world. But there's the top of the rail here that we can attach. We use it for later. And if you look at the top of the screen, there is this sort of yellow block here, which we need to get. So we go back down the stairs. There's a sort of silo here, and if you scrouch down, you can see there's a control panel with two knobs, and they correspond to this long arm here that we're going to shimmy across. So if you look on the left, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you look at the way it corresponds, it is 4 over. We need it to be 2 over. So we change it to 2. The right knob says A, B, C, D, E. If you look at where the arm is, it is 3 up, which corresponds to C. And we need it to be 1 up, so that corresponds with A. Push the button, gets it to where we need to go. So we go back up the stairs, jump up to this arm, and shimmy on over to grab the block. So having grabbed the block, we now place it on the tracks. And you want to place it on the side closest to the screen. Well, closest to your view. Because that way, when you push the rail to activate the lever, it falls on our character side of the map. So we just take the wheels off, have a seat, push the railing again, and the new cart pushes us in. So before we continue, get a bit of a cutscene here. We see a henchman, rather large fellow, climb down, eat some of the berries, and we get our first memory bubble of our main character on the beach making a sandcastle, and the henchman stomps it out, throws the bucket on our character's head, and walks away laughing like bullies do. So we just hide for a second while he climbs back up, leaves back the way he came out of a ventilation pipe. And so now we have to leave too. There is a door here, but we try to go, find it sealed shut. So to the right of this door, we see a hook with a little Allen key hanging off. Grab that. Walk to the middle of the processor here. There's a big red button. We push it, opens a panel. Walk over to the panel, check it out. And you see here, it is the sequence for the claw for it to rotate, go down, and rotate again. That's what we need it to do. Right now, it picks up the berries, rotates, and drops it in. So we just change it to rotate first, go down, rotate again. Push the button on the side to activate. Walk over. We can get inside. And the claw picks us up. And we swing over to the platform on top. And here we have another panel. We use that Allen key to open it. And here we see the wirings. And so if you follow the colors for the red and, or excuse me, not red, for the yellow and blue, I swear I'm not colorblind, you can just switch the top too, and that should do it. Fall back down, go over to the panel again, and now it should reverse the direction of travel. So when we activate it again, it now rotates around the back first. So we hop in the cart again. Oh. In here, part of it shorted out. So we just take the wires, and you just, oh, not like that. There you go. He does something to rewire it. So now we go back to the panel again. Push the button. Hop back in. So now when it rotates, it should pick us up, rotate around the back so it's not trying to drop us in the furnace, and we can swing over to the same ventilation pipe. And here we see a second henchman carrying a large vat. So the big henchman from earlier spits out all those berries inside, puts the cover on, looks like they're making some kind of bomb. We have another memory bubble here with the taller henchman is beating the bejesus out of our character, making him drop all of his coins. And of course the Robocops don't notice. But unfortunately we're spotted. Taller henchman has this sort of plunger gun that he grabs us with. And we are thrown into the brig. So now we have to figure a way out. Go to the left, we can crouch down. There's a hole connecting to the cell next to us, but we can't reach very far. So we do have a cellmate we can talk to. He wants a cigarette. So walk over to this pipe here. The little propeller looking thing we can twist off. We'll need that in a second. Grab that. There's also some seaweed looking stuff coming out of the bottom of the pipe that we also grab. We walk over to the light, and if you look at the texture, it has this sort of sizzling effect. So we extend ourselves, we throw that seaweed on top of the light. It cooks it into a tobacco-like product. Grab some toilet paper. Combine the toilet paper with the new tobacco, and we have our cigarette. So we go to our cellmate, we give him his fix. He conveniently lights it with his eye, and as we shake his arm falls off, but he doesn't seem to mind. So we now scrunch down again, use the arm to explore a little more. Cellmate's in the middle, a little freaked out by that. So there's two ways we can go. You go the bottom route, it just has this another one of those weird possum looking things. We go to the one on the top though, goes to the cell all the way to the end where we see a broom on top of this. I'm not really sure what to call it. It's like a safety box, but either way we shake it a couple times to get the broom. Broom falls, we grab it, swallow it somehow, even though I'm pretty sure the broom is taller than him. But we combine the broom with the propeller, and it creates this sort of makeshift key so that we can unscrew the manhole in our room. And now we can make our escape. Can try to walk over to the cell in the middle, but we unscrew it. Two guys get kind of freaked out, so our character doesn't want to intrude, so he just puts the manhole cover back. And we make our way to the right. You just keep shimmying along here until you get to position for the second manhole cover. We unscrew it. The possum comes by. It steals the broom for some reason. Then now we see the third henchman. And our next memory bubble, where we see our character Joseph with his girlfriend Berta sitting atop a light pole. And the henchman slingshots a nut into us, knocks us off. Not very nice. But that's okay. So we see him shooting this little bearing ball gun at a target. So this is a timed event. So what you want to do is wait till he leans back in his chair and tip him over. And while he's tipped over, grab the ball bearings from the plate. He will now get up to go get more bearings from the target. While he's distracted, we grab the key that's hanging off his hip, carefully make our way out, throw the ball bearings we have onto the floor. Doesn't seem to notice though, and you can do this as many times as you want. Just wait for him to lean back, tip him over, grab the ball bearings, and when he sees there's no more, he'll go get some from the target. So now, we see a key panel. We unlock both cells because why not? Some of this game is scripted, so when you do an event, it will just sort of take over. So now we see the two prisoners from the middle cell start to head out. The henchman tries to run after him, he slips on the bearings, slides in the next room, runs out after them. So, now we make our way over. Of course, we slip on the bearings as well. And now we get to see the front of the cells. So in the middle cell, there's a plunger on top of the ceiling. You just want to grab that real quick. Hop back out. The last cell here, the one with the sort of security box, is locked. So we need some kind of code for that. It looks like a time-based code. As in, you need the time, not that you will be timed. So we head up the stairs to see what's out this door here. And it was the room we were in earlier when we got caught, so not really much to interact with here. You can try to drink some of the oil, but it's gone. See a large telescope pointing out the window. We can look through it. And we see the two henchmen from earlier climbing up to what looks like to be the tallest building in the city with the bomb. So we got the big henchman just climbing up there with the bomb on his back. And it looks like he just duct tapes the thing to the side. And I would love to know what kind of duct tape he has. So of course now our character signals some kind of urgency to try to stop that. So here, to get the time code, turn the lights off, clock on the wall, and the hands are constantly moving, but every time we turn off the light, it has this glow-in-the-dark paint. And if you look at the time, it's roughly 4:45. So we make our way back to the cells. And we punch in the time, 4:45. You can hold the button down so as not to wear out your finger. Open it up, and we hop inside. So now we're greeted with this, I'm not really sure what these puzzles are called, but basically the goal is to get the green into the middle here by rotating the rest of the circles. So I won't bore you with how I get here, I'll just skip ahead. So inside the security box was the one half of the gun. So we need to combine that with the plunger we got earlier, and now we have our own plunger gun. And now we can leave. So now we are outside of the prison. And this is where, at least in my opinion, we get to hear some of the really beautiful music that was composed for this game. So what we see here, there's a dog on the right side of the screen just getting into some trash. But there is a gap with some kind of oil dispensing buoy in the water. And we have no visible way to get across, so we go to the left side and check that out. And here we see a woman with an umbrella. She has a whistle. And we see a path we could go, but it's blocked because of this leaking water. So we ask her for her umbrella. And she tells us that she's missing her dog, the same dog we saw earlier. So we go back, and we look up, and there's a sort of operator tower up here that we need to get up. But the way up, there's these two boxes stacked on top of each other. That's too tall for us. So what you need to do is push them over to the left side where the lady is. Keep pushing. And so then as you push, if you look up, you see there is a magnet up here that needs to be activated to grab that top box off the bottom. Click on this panel here, and there's a little... Again, I don't know what this puzzle is called, but I call it a leapfrog puzzle, because essentially the way you solve it is you need to leapfrog the arrows so that they end on the opposite side of which they started. Pull the lever. Magnet grabs the top box off of the bottom. You can lift it up too if you want. And now we just push that rolling box back over to where we were. So we hop up. And we climb our way into the operator booth here. This is a sort of mini puzzle here. Essentially, the light in the middle represents where the buoy is. We need to get to the side where the dog is. So it's just a simple top-down view. You just push the buttons here to turn the arrow where you want it to go. Too much. Push the play button for it to start moving. And you push the oil button here to dispense some oil. You want to do a couple of pumps because it only stays around for so long, but you quick jump down. And while the dog is distracted with the oil, you use the plunger gun and you grab him. And he just swallows the dog. But now we have the dog. So we go back to the lady, give her the dog, and she trades her umbrella. So now we use that umbrella to go to the next part of the game. Here we see our characters using that bridge in the background. The umbrella blows away, but that's okay, we don't need it anymore. And we make our way up the stairs here to the next part of the city. So this is where the sort of second act of the game takes place. You don't really need to go back unless you want to. But here, we actually see the gate entrance on the left, where we would have come in had we not slipped and fallen. There's 3 musicians, but they're not playing. And then we see a bar here, and a big vat of something gross with a bunch of flies in the front. So we talk to the musicians, talk to each of them. We asked the drummer what happened. He was busy playing along. 2 of the henchmen came by. The big one grabbed it, smashed it on the head of the other, and so the taller one just pushed it down the big one's throat. I don't know how digestion works in this world. But now the drummer is drummerless. Talk to the guy who's playing some kind of saxophone. He is missing all the pins in order to play, and he needs 5 of them. I want to say this is a didgeridoo, but I'm not sure. But we ask him what's wrong. He blows into it. No sound comes out. So if you actually crouch down and look inside it, you see these 2 beady eyes. So there's some kind of creature inside here that we need to chase out. So we'll do this in order of proximity. So we walk into the bar, we actually see a big vat, not a vat, we see a big barrel of oil that can be used for a drum, but if we try to take it, the bartender just kind of swats at us. So if we ask them for the oil, they want money, of course. We don't have money, we don't know where to get money. So instead what we do is we walk over to the door, and there's a piece of fly tape up top that we can grab. And if we look inside the window of the door, we see all 3 henchmen playing cards. So of course we're not going to go in there. But now with the fly tape we walk back out to that vat of gross stuff in front. We use the fly tape, attract a bunch of flies. And now we just have flies. So we go back inside the bar. And we unleash the flies onto the bartender, who is well distracted. So we grab the barrel of oil, we drag it outside before they can do anything. And our drummer has a drum again. But the upstairs neighbor is not very happy, and she grabs one of her pots and throws it down. So now onto the next instrument. Go back inside the bar, and there is someone playing a game of Connect 5. Who lets us join? Now, fair warning, the AI for this is actually quite good. Even if I try to play with strategy, most of the time I feel like I'm just guessing. So, again, I won't bore you. I'll just skip ahead to when I somehow win. And like the sore loser he is, he smashes the table and sends these little... I'm not sure what they call it, pins? But either way, we grab them. Conveniently for us, there's 5 scattered across the bar now. So we just go pick them up. And we hand the pins over to the saxophone player. Puts them in, and now he can play too. Upstairs neighbor throws a fit again, throws down her other pot, which had a plant in it, and you actually want to take that plant for later. So now the last instrument is the didgeridoo, and for this we have to go up the stairs in the background here. Here we have a sort of middle sequence with a set of doors, but our character can't go inside, so I guess we'll have to see what that is for later. Here we arrive at the upper part of the city. There's a giant church on the left here. There's a well in the center. And on the right, we see a guy reading a paper in some kind of announcement tower. So we try some doors. Nothing's opening. There's a lady on the bench here. Talk to her. She says she prays when that infinity symbol appears, and if you actually look on top of her head, it's the same symbol. So there's a couple different ways you can go about this, but there's a set of stairs to the left. You walk over. You see what is essentially an electrician working on some wires, a bridge leading to an arcade which we can't access yet, and a cat on top of, I guess you would consider this a greenhouse with some machinery inside, but you want this cat. So, what you first need to do is go to this electrical panel. There's a piece that'll fall out, but before you can grab it, this bird comes down, snatches it. So, the bird actually follows us, and if we walk to the middle of the bridge, the bird then lands on the electrical wire in between, and it's a little bouncy. So what you do is you want to extend and shrink because it will follow your movements. The wire will then break, it'll fall, spit out the piece. And now you can get the piece back. So before you solve that puzzle though, you want to attach the wire to the metal railing here. Here, you want to follow the lines so that the bottom part of the wire then attaches to the top. Again, won't bore you with how this gets done. I'll just show you when I figure it out. Alright. So this is essentially the shape you want to get it in. Take that piece, put it in the top left. And now the electricity has been rerouted to the metal railing. So, it's a little cool, but we need to get that cat to run across the railing. So what you want to do is you want to climb up the electrician who has this flathead here. He doesn't seem to mind, but you want to pull the plug on his equipment. We then fall, and you want to quickly grab the wire that's hanging down to create this little rat's nest for him. He will then move over to the back side of the cat. So you climb up on top of his head again. You disturb the cat. It runs away. Climbs on the railing, gets stuck there. So you just go to the electrical panel, pull that piece out. You can put it back in somewhere else to make the sound stop, but now you grab the cat and swallow it. So, now having the cat, you want to make your way back to where the musicians are. So, take the cat, let it go inside the didgeridoo here, and it chases out whatever was inside, which again is one of those little possum looking thingies. But now all three of them can play. And the upstairs neighbor is so mad that she throws her perfectly good speaker onto us, which we can grab for later. And this is another kind of cool aspect of the game here, where the character actually lives inside the world he's in. So if you're near music, he will actually dance. And he's not bad. But we gotta keep moving. Got a bomb to stop, got our girlfriend to save. So we go back up the stairs. So back to where this church is. By the well, we see an elderly gentleman in a wheelchair who is literally rusted stuck. And he asks us to find some oil. So we oblige because we're good citizens. Go back down to where the musicians are. Outside to the front gate, where we saw the oil dripping earlier. Place the can here. Let some oil drip inside. and make our way back to the elderly man. So, we give him his can of oil. He can now wheel around off the manhole cover we need to go down. But before we do, he asks us for sunflower oil, so we take the can for later because right now we're not anywhere near sunflowers. But before you go down the manhole cover, we need to figure out a way to get this speaker, because the speaker that was attached to the radio player got damaged when the neighbor threw it. So we need to figure out a way to get him inside the church. So if you look above the door on this sort of radio tower here, you see what is essentially the Star of David. So there's some posters on the wall outside the church, but neither of them have the Star of David. But one of them does have this infinity symbol, and you just sort of match the symbol to the number here. All the numbers are 7, so at that point, dealer's choice on what kind of symbol you want. So here, in front of the screen, you can grab this crank, attach the crank to the church wall. So the closest symbol is this little bullseye here on number 7. So, direction doesn't really matter. Church will sound, the lady will get off and go inside. And so now we can look at the piece of paper that was behind her. One of them is scratched off, so obviously that just leaves the bottom one. The symbol looks like a 6, the Roman numeral is a 6. So they're just both 6-6. So we just adjust again. And so now the guy in the radio tower comes down to head inside the church. And if you look at him, he does kind of resemble a Hasidic rabbi with the curly side hair. But now that leaves us open and available to climb inside the radio tower and grab the speaker. And we can combine the speaker with the radio player we have, and good as new. So now, we can go down the manhole cover. So inside here, we just see the giant basin for the well. See the piping system. I don't know if this guy is supposed to be an employee or he just likes it down here, but either way. We need to figure out a way to drain this basin. And to do that, we first need to stop the water flow going to the shower that feeds the well. So to do that, we need... Yep. Oh, he's actually explaining it to us. We need 3 of these red little wrenches here. So if you look at the piping system, there's one already there, and you can just take if you want. There's also this little S-shaped metal hook. So on the right here, there's a drawer with a book inside. Kind of a detailed illustration of how it works. Almost like a history book, but you keep flipping the page and there's a second wrench. We go down here, and in the middle there's an overflow valve that you can look down, and that actually leads into the card game room where the henchmen are playing. But to find the 3rd wrench, you see look down this drain, see it's stuck there, we grab that S-shaped tool to fish it out. And now we have all 3 wrenches. So, go back to the piping system. And if I'm being totally honest, I have no idea how they figure this puzzle out. I've never been able to logic my way out of it. I've always had to do a walkthrough, but this is the configuration you want to stop the water flow. So as long as this pipe in the middle with the arrow here is stopped, that is the pipe that goes up to the shower. So now it is stopped. We just need a way to drain it. So seeing as how this dude is literally a giant wrench, we ask him for help. He says no. He had a music player down here. And one of the henchmen comes down and just throws the music player into a bag for himself. So he wants his music back before he'll help us. And luckily for us, we already put a music player together. So, we give him back his music. And now we can ask him for help. So we bridle carry him over to the basin. He uses his head and mouth to undo the nut, and the water flows down. But the nut actually clogged the drain, so all the water now is flowing into the overflow valve and floods the card game room. And all three henchmen are kind of there just floating with their cards and furniture and whatnot. Good thing they don't need oxygen. So we make our way back up the ladder. And we throw ourselves into the well. There's a connection pipe that leads out to this little moving platform right outside the city wall. There's this kind of control panel here, but doesn't really do anything yet. So, as a simple puzzle, basically you just gotta swap the colors for the side, just move it in a big star pattern. And this lever pops out, but it won't go up or down. Try to pull the starting line here to start it up. Nothing. Turns out it's out of fuel. But there's a button on the wall here we can push, and it lowers us down. It lowers us down to a window here. We look inside, and there is Berta. So she explains that the henchman basically just grabbed her, threw her in this kitchen here, and just want her to cook. Gave her a chef's hat and everything. What a life. So we can take control of her for a little bit. As we see here on the wall, there is a supply of oil that we somehow need to get from this side of the room out the window. So there is a cupboard here with a ear of corn inside, so we take that. There's a pot of boiling water we just take off the stove for a second, put it on the ground, put the ear of corn on the stove, and the kernels pop. They get sucked up the vent and come outside where there is some kind of hook attached, and it gets knocked free by the popcorn. Luckily, we grab it and we hand it through the window. So, Berta, now having the hook, climbs on top of the pot here, uses the hook to knock loose the AC cover vent at the top of the room. So we use it again to grab the coiling from inside but it's frozen. So we need to unfreeze it. Grab the pot, stick it back on the stove, and we toss the frozen coil inside the pot of water. Well, it's probably oil, but you know. Once thawed, the coil has now become a long piece of rubber tubing. So we take that tubing, attach it to the oil supply by the sink. And she hands us the other end of the tube to us. Put it in the tank. Tell her to pump some oil. And now our platform can run again. Unfortunately, we can't take her with us because she can't really fit through the window, so we're gonna have to come back for her. But now, we can pull the lever, tell it to go up. And it takes us all the way up. So by now we're pretty high up. We see we're at the back of some kind of greenhouse, and the ventilation system for this is actually another robot. It's taking a nap, but we wake him up. And for some reason he decides to start quizzing us. Now, for this, you actually want him to get mad. And so in order to do that, you need to get these wrong. So, you just answer a couple of wrong ones. Oh, that one happened to be right. Okay. But you just keep getting it wrong. And he will get so mad that the fan inside his mouth actually shoots out and leaves him in a daze. So now we can crawl inside and get inside the greenhouse. So now we're inside some kind of greenhouse. There's a desk, panel beside the desk, projector with missing slides, some kind of machine here which we'll find out what it does in a second. The door can't go out. There's a panel next to the door with a butterfly sort of mechanism. And we need to figure out the pattern for the wings. So there's two ways to do this. First way to do it, you see a little stick here on one of the plants, grab the stick. Go to the panel by the desk, and we're greeted with a set of 6 puzzles. And the whole goal is basically to fill the screen, kind of like a game of Snake almost. So this first set of 3, we activate it. Turns on this contraption. So that plant we saved from earlier, there's an empty pot here we can stick it in. So if we activate the contraption, turns out it's a growth accelerator. And it conveniently is a sunflower. So we shake the sunflower, get the seeds from it, and we'll save those for later. So then you can move the accelerator. It's kind of annoying, you gotta walk back to the panel every time to use it, but you can use it on every plant here. Have a look, see what it does. But this one here on the far right has some sort of carnivorous plant on it that kind of looks like Venus flytrap. I don't know how to explain it really than just bucket mouths. But that's going to be one of the ways we get the butterfly pattern. To show you the last plant here. So behind the plants there's a set of stairs with like some kind of catwalk in it. And in front of us is one of these plants. But it doesn't like us being in there, so we use that stick we got from earlier to prop the mouth open. And now we can reach inside. To show a magnifying glass. Now, this is the first way to get the butterfly pattern. There is a butterfly here that is flying around that looks suspiciously like the door mechanism, so we just wait for it to land on the railing. And we look at its wing pattern. So, having seen it, we can now go down to the door and activate said pattern. So that's the first way to open the door. Second way is in the desk. We look at the drawers, and they're labeled 1 and 2. And they're both slides that we can take and put into the projector. So we put the first one in. Walk over to the panel on the wall here, and this is where the second set of puzzles comes in handy, because this is what activates the projector. So the second set of 3 activates the projector. We push the button. Nothing happens. So what you need to do is take that magnifying glass from earlier, stick it in front of the projector. Oh, too far. Walk over, come on. Stick it in front of the projector. That way it actually projects. And we can go through the slides. So this first set of slides here shows us various insects, and this is where we can get the pattern. So this is another way of doing it. Let's kind of show you what they look like. It's like a little transistor. Alright, so that was the first set of slides. Take a look at the second set of slides here. And these show us more plants. And in one of these slides, it shows a sunflower, and it shows the way we get oils, we need to put the seeds through some kind of grinding machine. So, if we exit the greenhouse, there conveniently is a grinding machine next to us. But before we put the sunflower seeds in, we need to put the can at the bottom of the drain. That way it actually catches the oil and doesn't just drain away. So we throw the seeds in there, move the lever back and forth, it's manual, and it squeezes out some sunflower oil. So here we have a bridge that sort of just chain to this other platform here on the other building. I don't think it's OSHA approved. We see a door, but in front of the door is a large RoboCop holding some kind of... I don't know if this is a toy or like his kid or whatever, but we talk to him. And the little guy is out of batteries. So he wants us to find a battery pack. But on the side of the building is this rail we can slide down. And here it spits us out to that middle platform with the door we can enter. So now we have a way back up, instead of having to go through the moving platform and all that. But now that we have the sunflower oil, we can give it to the man in the wheelchair. He uses it to oil his joints. And he gives us a ticket for our trouble. So, we grab the tape that was binding his knee earlier, and he just sort of wheels back and forth, all happy now. But, that ticket had the symbol for the arcade on it. So now we can make our way into the arcade. Beat the ticket. Door opens. And it's a, well, interesting looking arcade. So, here at the far left, there's a machine here that I guess they're eco-friendly because you need to pedal to power the arcade games. But here you can play the first game. It's basically just Space Invaders. And if you're on PC, you can use your actual keyboard instead of just pushing on the buttons. Again, I won't bore you with all this. Well, after reaching 1,000 points, it spits out a coin. Pretty cool, but we need 2 of them. So, after that one, you can now power up the second machine. Just move the lever down. Pedal. Power the machine. And now we can do the second game. Here we have a puzzle where the object is to put the smaller red horseshoe into the larger red horseshoe to open the door, and then we can get out. Alright, and there is a third game, but as you'll soon see, our pedaling just causes it to overload. So, no game, but that's okay, we only need the 2 coins. So we go back to the church area. And there is a battery machine by the little radio tower. Did I grab the coin? Oh crap. 1 second. Nope, forgot it. Oops. Anyway, so we go back to the church area. And we use our hard-earned cash to get some batteries. We take the bandage, tie the batteries together, and now we have a battery pack. So, we go back to the guard. And we hand over the battery pack. So now his little buddy can get moving. He moves out of the way too. We can now go inside these doors here. And this is what I would call the third act of the game. So we are now inside an elevator. And we have to figure out how to get going. So it's a plant here we can interact with. We just drop some dirt on the floor for some reason. A little vacuum will come out and we can actually grab it and shake this little diode here. But this diode is necessary to go to one of the floors. So on the wall there's some scratches. We are currently at number 1. So we extend up, move the leaf out of the way, see a star pattern take us to number 2. And so we just draw a star pattern here. Takes us up, exit the elevator, and we're in some kind of penthouse suite with a vacuum that's plugged in, a fountain, stairs going up. Before we go upstairs, we go the right to the bathroom. We look inside the toilet and we see the bomb, so we gotta take care of that first. So in order to do that, first got to go over to the very left here, play with the lever. Oh, and the vacuum's dead. Oh. Controls are a little finicky here. So there is a electrical box by the bathroom door, so we just turn all the lights on. Go over here, play with the lever. And we move it back to the bathroom. So we follow him and jump on top, grab some scissors. And go to move the vacuum again. So you want to put the vacuum right under this little chandelier here. Yep, I thought so. Turn the power off first, otherwise you get a shock. And that chandelier turns into a convenient hook. So, turn everything back on. Move the vacuum back into the bathroom. And we can attach this hook to the vacuum and to the toilet. So now when we go over to the lever, we tell it to move forward. It has pulled the toilet out of the floor. It's a pretty strong vacuum. So we somehow use the paper towel roll to plunge down there, swing over to the bomb here. And here we just gotta match the correct fuses to the correct numbers. It's just a simple 1 equals A, 2 equals B. There's a time limit on it, but let's take some time, trace the lines. It's not too bad. And having put the fuses in the right place, it deactivates the bomb. So we climb back up the paper towel roll. Again, there's some strong paper towels. And now we can start heading up. But before we go up, there's a robot just sitting on one of the mantles here. And if we talk to him, he was actually taken from a planet. Kind of shaped like a giant turnip. And from what I've read, this is actually a reference to their earlier game, Samarost. But the police decide to kidnap him and just take him back here, I guess. Rude. But we go up the stairs. And here we see a robot with a giant head, who I think is supposed to be like a grandma figure, just hooked up to all these machines. It's kind of drooling everywhere. So we talk to her, and as we see in a memory bubble, Joseph and Berta just doing some housework, grandma reading, one of the henchmen comes up and just plugs himself into her. Not a very nice thing to do. She activates this emergency switch for a vacuum to come, tries to suck away the henchman, but he gets free, and Joseph gets sucked up instead. And this alludes to the start of the game. And this is where we see the large robot from earlier arrive. But before he gets inside, Berta is taken, and Granny is, well, a little worse for wear. So on the left here, there's a panel that we can open. Another puzzle here. Just get the green inside the green. Whew, okay, that took me long enough. Jesus. Alright. And I had to look up a guide for that. Shit. Alright, so. Close that up. Too far away. Alright, so get a little closer. Attach ourselves to Granny here. And we just have another mini game here where we just need to get the key. So as of now, just avoid the little red guy shooting at you. And now we have the gun. So we have 40 of them to get rid of. Yeah, I'm just gonna skip ahead on this one. Alright. So now having disinfected Granny, we tell her about Berta being trapped in the kitchen. And she gives us a pat on the back. But here she tells us to activate the negative first floor on the elevator. She gives us the other diode that we need to do it. And just like that, goes back to reading like nothing happened. So we head back down towards the elevator. Hop in the elevator. Go to the panel here, plug in this other diode. Oh, guess I gotta look at it first. Plug in this diode here. And now if we look at the negative first floor, we need to make the big spiky symbol. Oh, that's for the floor we're on. Try it again. I did not do that right. There we go. So we go to the negative first floor, and we're actually beneath the bar, the poker room, and the kitchen. So, below the poker room here, there's a trapdoor with a lock on it. And next to it is a sledgehammer. We hit it, nothing happens. But next to the sledgehammer is a key. I don't get this either. But grab the key. Try to unlock the lock here. Nothing happens. So, go back to the elevator. And we see a panel with a keyhole on the right side of the elevator. This in turn has a can of cryo freeze inside. We then use the spray to freeze the lock. And now we can bash it with the sledgehammer. And all the henchmen are flushed away to who knows where. But we climb up the ladder to the room, and now free Berta. We take her along to the top of the tower where Granny is. And if we head outside, there's a police copter on top, but there's no way to get to it. But on the left side of the dome, there's a panel here. Plays notes. And on it are the numbers 7 and 108. So go back inside the dome. And there will be a machine to the left here. Now if you interact with it, you can turn the dials. And you can get to roughly 7 and 108. And this one might take me a while too because my musical memory's not that good. There we go. We click on this little lever next to Berta, that way the steps here can't go back in. We ask her to go up, she does, and we follow her. And we ride off into the sunset, I guess. Not really sure where they're going. But that's it. That is Machinarium. It's a delightful little game, really. If you enjoyed watching this playthrough, please buy it. The developers have come out with all kinds of games in the meantime. Some of them are really funny, and the artwork is always pretty unique. So you can find them on Steam. I think they are still in the works of their latest one, which you can definitely check out. But thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. One thing I forgot to add, if you look at all the achievements, they're pretty much just story achievements that impossible to miss as long as you play through.